Tried a few times. Consistency is the hardest part with the ADHD brain. Oh, streaming? Yeah. Actually, people with ADHD, I think, have a really rough time with streaming. So if you can get yourself to be consistent, that's good. It's hard to get yourself there, though, depending on how your ADHD manifests. But then once you're there, I know a lot of people that streaming then becomes unhealthy. They can't stop. They just stream and stream and stream. And the only thing that gets them to stop is feeling insanely hungry or feeling so tired that they realize they're starting to fall asleep on stream. And they will every day pull super long hours. And or on top of that, some people, like, they might be good at looking at the timestamp every now and then. And when it hits a certain time, being like, oh, maybe I'll end. But they'll end stream and then be like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. And they didn't realize they forgot to eat. And they didn't realize that they should have eaten 5, 4, 3 hours ago, you know, whatever it is. And that's a big problem with ADHD is forgetting to eat is actually a big thing if they're like really absorbed in something, and that happens a lot too. So I don't know, it's just one of those rough things. I go to Garrick's chat and I just go, have you eaten yet? And he goes, oh shit, and then orders food. I do it all the time. I'm like, what did we eat today? And it'd be like, nothing. It can be tough for people. But you guys hear me? I like snack. I eat on stream so much. And I just order food on the side. I can't imagine. Could you do streaming consistency as in streaming X days of the week, every week, no matter what? Or does it have to be stream every day, no matter what? Oh, no. Don't do the everyday thing. No point. 4 or 5 times a week consistently if you're growing. Great. I think you could even do 3. I just find that when someone shows up and they enjoy you for the first time, they enjoy your stream. If you want them to come back, you kind of have to be around within the next day or 2. Otherwise, they don't stick. But it's not, you don't have to go too crazy. I've pretty much always done 4 days a week, but I always did 4 days a week. And now I do extra like alt channel days, RP stuff, if I do it. But I keep to 4. I don't feel the need to do more than that. I really don't. I think it's too much. It's too much on the voice. It's too much just hours wise, you know. Streaming every day is low key bad because people will just go, oh, I can miss this one because I can just catch them tomorrow. There's a scarcity buff. You know, there's some streamers who stream a lot less often. There's some people who stream 4 times a month or less, right? Those people get the scarcity buff. Because their stream is rare, it's scarce, it's higher value. Yeah, you gotta catch it. You gotta be there. And people will not watch someone else. They'll go to that stream specifically because they're like, I don't know when this person's gonna be back. So that actually works too. And there are some people that specifically don't stream long hours to do that. Which I don't think is a bad idea. I think, you know, it's just up to what you want. You definitely make less money. Like, people will subscribe, but fewer will subscribe overall because they are like, why sub if I'm only gonna see you 4 times, you know, stuff like that. Or sometimes you just don't get the ad revenue, you know, that kind of stuff. But if you make like YouTube videos and things like that, and you're a big enough streamer that people will show up, that the scarcity buff kind of works, then, you know, it's not a bad idea. There are some people that do 3 times a week for 3 hours and that's it, right? So it's interesting. I'm sure some people try to do that and just get more fall off than payoff. Yeah. Absolutely. It's also, you know, I don't think there's a good meta of like, this always works, that always works, whatever. I think all that matters is the consistency isn't in the time. The consistency is in literally being consistent. So if you are a 3 times a week, 3 hours only streamer, you have to keep doing that, right? Because if you start streaming every day, then those people who are used to not seeing you and used to showing up like it's a big deal, they'll go, oh, she's streaming so much more, I don't need to show up every day. If you're someone who streams all the time and then you're like, I'm gonna start streaming a little less, you've built up a base of people that like to watch often, and you're no longer gonna be doing the thing that they like, right? Like, they probably like your consistency. So if you're like, oh yeah, let me stream way less, I'm gonna go for the scarcity thing, then people are gonna be like, what the fuck is this? And they're not gonna watch. So I don't think any of it really matters as long as you find a thing that works and you consistently do that. You know what I mean? Other than that, do what makes sense for you. Do what makes sense for giving you a return on your time and that you enjoy doing. That's it. Would you say to those scared to hit the go live button? You're never gonna make it. If you don't get over that, you're never gonna make it. Put the fear in them. If you're so anxious that you can't hit go live, you have no chance. So you need to get over it. You need to get over it. And if you always feel that anxiety and you've been streaming for years, maybe this isn't the thing for you. Why are you making yourself like anxious, you know? So try it, see how you feel. For most people, it goes away. You do it for a bit and you push through and you just actually get over it, you know? I don't think it's too hard. It's just, you know, literally you have to make yourself do it. Otherwise, no chance. How do you feel about people trying out streaming as like immersion therapy for anxiety or a way to regain social skills, worthwhile or just unrealistic? Oh, I don't know. I think it depends on what their issue is. Immersion therapy is really good in general, or exposure therapy especially, right? So for me with OCD, I would have certain things that I just like could not stop myself from doing, right? Certain compulsions. So my exposure therapy was telling somebody what those things were. This is the thing I fixate on, and then this is the resulting compulsion. And then they would be with me, and when I would start wanting to do the compulsion, I would verbalize it to them, and they would like physically stop me or redirect my mind or whatever. And it was like crazy exposure therapy. It worked so well. It worked so well because then you do the thing and you realize, oh, I'm like not dead after doing this thing. Cool. You know, not gonna kill me. I'm less, you know, either afraid or worried or whatever negative emotion you have relating to it, right? So that works really well. I think for social anxiety, it's good because a lot of the stuff people imagine happening that they're anxious about is just like in reality never gonna happen, you know? Like it's usually pretty delusional. So I think it's probably pretty good. The problem is if you start streaming to like get over that, the issue is that no one shows up when you're like a tiny streamer just starting out. So they'd have to build an audience first and then it gives them that. So it may or may not work. I don't know. They might give up before it gets to that point. Yeah, I mean, not a bad idea though. I just think there's a little disconnect because there's no hit go live and there's a built-in audience of people watching and listening kind of thing, you know? So I never understood the fear if you're on OBS and looking at the go live button, not pressing it is like getting to the top of a slide and not going down it. Yeah, I never understood it either. I understand generally having some anxiety if, you know, you need to stream, but there's something like big going on that day. You have a debut, you hope it goes well, or, you know, it's some event or something. But if it's just going live in general, it's literally like the most chill thing ever. So what that tells me is they've built up some expectations in their head of this being bigger than it is, you know, for sure. Which is usually what anxiety is, right? Like you think about something and you build it up in a negative way in your head. And now like you can't get yourself to do it. A lot of the time it's like that. So probably better to have a streamer friend and join them a few times. Yeah, but if you have a streamer friend and you're a non-streamer and you're like, can I join you a few times? A lot of them will be like, what? No. Then you get into the territory of using your friend. So it really depends on how close you are. And I'm going to be totally honest, 100% honest here. I have a lot of different friends and I love them all. Some of them are great to bring on stream. And if they ask me, can I go onto your stream? I'd be like, absolutely yes. Some of them are wet rags, not entertaining. I love spending time with them, but spending time with someone versus bring them on a stream to be entertaining are two different things. So I have some friends, they would ask, I'd be like, no, my audience doesn't want to see you. I'll hang out with you though, because I love hanging out with you. And I'm very honest with them. And I don't think anyone's ever been like, I can't believe you said that. They're like, yep, I'm not interested, you know? So, you know, if you are like not used to streaming yet and you're very anxious, whatever, and then you're asking a friend to go on their stream to get not anxious, you're basically telling them like, hey, do you want a nervous shaking chihuahua in the corner that you have to keep attending to who like can't talk well while you have to stream, you know? Which is kind of asking a lot of somebody. Now, some people will care less because this is not their career, you know? So then it's totally fine. But if it's like how they make money, you've got to be careful. I think a good streamer could make it work. The bit could literally be that you are nervous, right? But that takes a talented individual to do that and make that entertaining for more than like 10 minutes. Yo, just please jeopardize your main source of income. Do it for the one time. Oh, dude, I know. Whenever like a streamer makes a decision based off of like entertainment value, I always see people like get really weird about it. And they're like, oh my God, they're number chasing or whatever. And I'm like, who wouldn't want to not jeopardize their income? I get it if they're doing something and they're selling out and they're like, I'm going to get more viewers this way, so I'm going to do this crazy thing I would never do. But if it's like, I'm not going to make a decision that would have my crash and burn, and then people are like, I can't believe they don't want to crash and burn. That always confused me. I don't get why people type sometimes. Why don't you play good games on stream like Dwarf Fortress? Play Dwarf Fortress for 10 hours. I don't get it, streamer. Stuff like that, you know? So I say this wholeheartedly. I love my friends, but I wouldn't want to work with them. I will say that's something that I've noticed, like my biggest realization in this industry and the way people are specifically in the VTubing sphere is that, no offense, this is just like my observation. So few of them actually know what work is. And of the ones who actually know what work is, so few of them actually want to work. There are a lot of them that think they know what work is, but they don't. And then they'll be like, I worked so hard on this. And I'm like, brother, you recorded for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? You recorded a thing for 20 minutes and then you had a bunch of artists do all the work and you didn't even organize your project. You had a manager do it. And then you're like, I worked so hard on this. And I'm like, stop acting. It's okay to be like, we worked hard on this, right? Like props to the team or something, but people will actually tell you, they'll actively tell you that they are so busy and then they don't do And, you know, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt and say with streamers especially, there's so much happening on the back end that you don't see. So they might be working harder than you think. But when you are their friend and you know them and you know what they're doing day to day because you're talking to them all day and they're showing you their work and stuff, sometimes you get a perspective shift because you end up seeing how much they actually did not do. And then you see them call that hard work, and I'm like, holy so many of them actually don't know what work is, man. It's crazy. It's actually insane how little they do sometimes. They're truthful. No, they're not. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're not. A lot of them are not truthful. But I don't blame them for it because they don't, like I said, a lot of them don't know what hard work is. So they actually think they worked hard. You know what I mean? And I just go, okay, all right. I don't know. It's a big realization past couple years, especially I've seen with people, and I'm like, damn, that's a lot. It's better to be friends with people than to work with them is definitely the thing I'm seeing, you know. my main observation. And I still like doing things with people, even if they don't love to work, as long as you don't set a crazy expectation. Or if I try something with a friend and it falls through, I'm usually like, that's okay. At least we tried. Because sometimes with certain projects, people will lock in and others they won't, right? So I never mind trying, but it can be a lot. They'll tell their audience that they worked so hard, and sometimes I've talked to them on the back end of what they've been doing, and I'm like, you didn't work hard, you were just very anxious. Just say that. Be like, this has been so much stress building up to this, and I'm glad it's over. But don't say I worked so hard, because that sentence isn't true, you know? You had a friend tell their chat how hard they prepped for a stream once. The time they said was prep time was spent drinking on my couch. Oh no. I've known people to legitimately like tell their chat, oh man, yeah, like they take a week off and then they have a debut and then they're like, oh my God, I worked so hard. But I know they went on a trip for that week, you know? And I'm like, what? Just be like, yeah, I refreshed. I've come back fresh for this. I'm very excited. Like, you don't, no one, it's not the work hard Olympics, you know, no one cares. And I'm just like, why do you say this stuff? I don't know. I got no clue, man. I don't get it. He said, spent 10% of my energy working on a thing and the rest of it anxiously shaking my seat about whether or not it'll go well. Yeah. I think what they do is they take that time spent worrying about stuff and they lump it into all of that. I agree. I don't know. I just put them in a job where they have to do physical labor and they'll shut right up. But the thing is, they've just never done that usually. Or, oh my God, the worst. When they go, I know what hard work is. I've worked in retail. Shut up. Oh my God. That's just difficult social situations, but shut up. You spend most of the day standing around, occasionally, you know, fixing some clothing on a shelf, doing some checkout. Some customers are mean, but most of them are very normal. It's like holiday season that's bad for a little bit. Oh my God. That is like, ugh. Retail is not roofing in August. Right. And I'm not saying you have to work the hardest job ever to know what hard work is, but like, have you ever done a job that should take 20 hours in 10 because your job, you know, would fire you if you didn't? Like, have you ever done a project and when you finish the project, you lay down on the floor because you can't do anything else? You cannot be brought to do anything else because your brain is so fried. You know, I'm just like, it doesn't have to be physical labor, you know, but it's just crazy, man. Not the floor, but the desk. Yeah, I've passed out at my desk. In my last job that I had, like right before streaming especially, that was a lot. And, you know, streaming I really just did as a COVID hobby because I took on fewer projects. But the amount of time I spent working and streaming, I used to spend just working. I used to have that many, like, contracts that I was on and stuff. I really wore myself thin. Like, it's partially my fault too. But I used to wake up at like 7 and get on calls with people that are on the other side of the world because they were about to end their workday. And I would be on calls, do my meetings, whatever. Then I'd get into a meeting with some of my own people, whatever. And then I just sit there and just do rote work for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I'd do it until like 10 p.m. I would take a lunch break that was a little longer, like a full hour instead of like quick, just enough to eat. So I'd eat and then like watch an episode of something in the middle of the day. And that's how I would trick my brain into thinking that like I had rest time. And then I'd get back to work and I'd just work until it was time to eat again. And then I'd eat and then I'd work again. And then I'd be on calls super late at night again with people on the other side of the world usually. And then I'd sleep and then I'd wake up and I'd do it again. And I would do this 6 days a week. And I was like, I was going to sleep at like 5 to 9, maybe 4 to 9 if it was a good day. And if I ever finished early, I would have to do like chores and stuff. And I had 1 day a week to get everything done. So I'd go do any shopping that needed to be done, get any major chores done. That 1 extra hour that I had sometimes, if I didn't have like a super late call, I would be like, okay, it's time to vacuum at 4 a.m., you know, whatever I needed to do. And then I would get up occasionally and spend like 10 minutes like playing with my cats or whatever until they want to go back to sleep because they're tired out. But yeah, it was that was like a lot. It was miserable, but I also really liked the work I was doing. And I liked that because of the amount of time I put in, because of the type of stuff I did. I got to do so many different roles, so many different things. You know what I mean? I got to do like all levels of the work depending on what work I was doing. And I really really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed getting to see these things from different perspectives. Sometimes you're just like, you know, the peon, and sometimes you're like in charge of a thing. Sometimes you're somewhere in the middle. So I enjoyed that. And I was like, wow, this is going to be so good for my career. You know, I was just like doing that. But it was a lot. I didn't always do those hours. I started off with slightly more. They were still pretty high, but slightly more normal hours. But I just kept putting more in over time. I was like, I have this free time. I could just pick up one more thing. You know, just one more thing that takes me like 5 hours a week. I could pick up one more and I would just do that. I did occasionally have chunks of time where I would finish my work and I'd have like an hour in the middle of the day. So depending on how quickly I got certain things done, you know, I could maybe free up some time. And that was where I played games, honestly. That was it. But there was a big chunk of a couple of years where I didn't really play that many games, I felt like, because I didn't have the time. And then COVID hit and I was like, wow, I could play video games. So I started streaming. Look at that. Yeah, you said the feeling when you have to work all Saturday and Sunday, because if you do not, 200 other people have to sit on their hands to wait for you to finish the job you should have completed. Yeah. That was the other thing, was a lot of the work was like that. Like if I didn't do my part, I was holding people up. So there was no room to be changing my pacing very much, you know? Everything was just breakneck pace constantly. Like do as much as you can and then pass it along. Because I'd also pick up a lot of work that was on tight schedules so that I would get paid more, you know? I would get them to pay me more and I would get, that rush fee sort of thing. And I would be like, let's do it, lock in. And I would just go as crazy as I could to try and get it done. But, you know, like I said many times, I support other people, not just myself, other family members and stuff. So I was like, all right, I gotta get on the hustle, man.